New stuff from iOS 17, the latest from podnews.net with Acast. iOS 17 has been released for iPhone and iPad. A free update. It includes significant changes for Apple Podcasts, unlocking episode art, and a new Now Playing experience, among other features. Episode art is already supported by Spotify, Pocket Casts, and other large apps. You'll find it in this podcast and the Pod News Weekly Review. Acast has announced a partnership with Slipstream, offering all Acast podcasters access to more than 70,000 royalty-free music tracks for use in their content creation. Acast creators get free access for 6 months and a discount thereafter. PodPros released its actively established podcast report for September. The report pulls in a number of data points for the industry, including industry download averages and a scoring of hosting providers. Triton Digital unveiled its Canada Podcast Trends report with data from the country, and a complement to the Canadian Podcast Ranker. It reveals that Canadians listen to 3 hours of podcasts on average per week, and that true crime is the most popular category. Lemonada Media has launched a full-service studio for brand, talent, foundation and non-profit partners looking to create original podcasts. NPR has renewed a brand lift measurement solution with Veritonic to measure the impact of their client and sponsor audio campaigns. Podreacher has unveiled a service that turns your podcast into a book, and they can publish it on Amazon within 8 weeks. A new version of OpenAI's Whisper speech recognition software was released today. It includes improvements to word timestamp accuracy and support for the podcast namespace requirements, with what you need to type in the command line to get that to work. And as of today, we support JSON transcripts for this show. And Apple has an Apple Podcast Studio in Apple Park in Cupertino. A Spanish podcast team recorded in it directly after Apple's Wonderlust event. They describe it as a generously sized recording room that includes everything any podcaster needs to produce high-quality content. Well, this podcast would sound nice from there, wouldn't it? And in People News, programmatic audio platform AudioHook has announced David Krulwich, or DK to his friends, as the company's chief revenue officer, and Amy Westervelt, founder of Drilled Global and the Critical Frequency podcast network, has received a Journalist of the Year award from Covering Climate Now, a global journalism collaboration co-founded by Columbia Journalism Review and The Nation. And in podcast news, Sunday's episode of NPR's Up First was from Radio Workshop in Cape Town in South Africa. This coal life took 6 months to put together and covers what will happen to families who've built their lives on coal as South Africa moves towards renewable energy. Lava for Good has launched Ear Witness, a podcast docu-series that dives into the wrongful conviction of Topherist Johnson, a man who is now sitting on death row in Alabama. Circumnavigate with Bear Grylls and Coyote Peterson is new today from Outdoor.com and Backyard Ventures. Hosted by Bear Grylls and Coyote Peterson, episodes will feature Grylls and Peterson virtually traveling the globe to speak to adventurers and athletes about their expeditions, careers and motivation. And History of the Second World War is a weekly podcast which looks at World War II. It's from the Airwave Podcast Network, and we thank them for their support this month. This podcast is sponsored by Acast. Acast connects thousands of podcasts with thousands of advertisers and has been matching podcasts with brands since 2016. Find your fit. Join Acast, the premier podcasting network, at advertisecast.com. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.